I mean, Chris, he had this image of me. He wanted me to just grown, sexy, had his thug appeal. And we kind of just didn't see eye to eye. I didn't see the vision he had at the same time. It could have just been a small conversation. But for whatever reason, we didn't see eye to eye with whatever he was trying to do.
Actually, basically on a text message saying word. That's all they saying. Like, it's one dude saying, yo, do this, and one dude is saying word. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I can't speak on my brothers in them cases and
Right.
what they going on. I can only be who I always been, they brother. You know, I'm a rock with them for life.
The internet's been going wild after Kevin McCall's emotional meltdown brought old drama with Chris Brown right back into the spotlight. But before anyone could calm down, Young Thug stepped in, face to face with Chris, and what started as a private talk turned into pure chaos. The leaked footage from that night, unreal. It showed just how out of control things got between two major figures in R&B history. Let's unpack this madness. October 20th, 2025, a date that'll go down as one of the most shocking days in modern music. Kevin McCall, 40 years old, sat down for what was supposed to be just another chill interview on Back on Fig. Nobody could have guessed that what happened in that nearly 3-hour talk would shake the streets, the industry, and social media like an earthquake. About 45 minutes in, the hosts were hyping him up, giving him his flowers for all his talent, but something inside Kevin just snapped. Out of nowhere, he reached into his wallet, pulled out his EBT card, his food stamp card, and right there, on camera, in front of the world, he broke down crying. Man, it was raw, it was heartbreaking to watch. You could feel the pain through the screen. Some people felt sympathy, others felt uncomfortable, but everyone was talking. Here's a guy who helped create some of the biggest hits of the 2000s and the 2010s, records that made millions, and now he's sitting there saying he's struggling just to eat. Kevin kept it real, saying he's behind on $2,000 a month in child support for his daughter Marley with his ex Eva Marcille, and that he hasn't even seen his kids in over 10 years. The man broke down completely. Tears, shaking, the whole thing, saying he's been battling dark thoughts and hopelessness. Then, through the pain, he made a direct plea to Chris Brown saying, "Give me the $25,000 you owe me for those 4 songs, bro." Kevin claimed that the unpaid royalties might add up to as much as $3 million. He said an invalid CBE deal left him with nothing, while Chris raked in millions performing the same songs on his Breezy Bowl 20 tour, a tour reportedly pulling in close to $100 million. Imagine that. While Chris was rocking sold-out arenas, Kevin said he was using food stamps and hiding his face in grocery stores out of embarrassment. That's tough to even process. When that clip hit the internet, it exploded. Within hours, it had millions of views across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. The post shared by @MyMixtapeHez alone got over 9 million views on Twitter. People were going at it online. Some saw Kevin as a victim of the industry, a talented man left behind by a cold business that chews people up and spits them out. Others saw it differently, saying he'd burned too many bridges and was now paying the price. The debates were fierce. Was he exposing the truth or just blaming everyone else for his mistakes? The streets couldn't decide. But just when everyone thought it couldn't get any crazier, someone unexpected jumped into the situation. Young Thug, fresh out, full of energy, and ready to make a statement, Thugger posted on Twitter the very next day, October 21st, 2025. "Kevin McCall, hit me, my man." Fans went wild. Nobody saw it coming. Here was Young Thug, one of the few artists respected by both sides, offering a hand instead of throwing shade. The move instantly changed the tone online. People started wondering, was Thug really about to step in and fix things between Kevin and Chris? Or was this just the calm before the next storm? Either way, one thing's for sure, that night's breakdown didn't just break the internet, it cracked open one of the music game's deepest and most painful rivalries. Young Thug shocked everybody when he stepped up and said, "I'll give you the $25,000 you need. And I know CB would give it to you too, bro. He a real one. He's just busy sometimes." That was a wild moment for the culture. It wasn't just talk, it was action. Thug was offering to personally hand over the same $25,000 Kevin McCall claimed Chris Brown owed him. No clout chasing, no hidden motives, just a genuine move of compassion in front of the entire world. The internet went crazy. People couldn't believe Thugger came through like that. Not only did he offer real money, but he did it publicly, putting both McCall and Chris Brown in a spotlight where everyone could see what was really happening. Even crazier, Thug managed to defend Chris while still showing love to Kevin. That's a delicate balance not many people could pull off. To really understand why this hit different, you gotta know how deep the bond runs between Young Thug and Chris Brown. These two go way back. We're talking about a real friendship built off mutual respect and genuine connection, not just music business vibes. Back in 2020, when the world was locked down, they dropped their joint mixtape Slime and B, and it was fire. The 13-track project showed how perfectly their styles blended, and their lead single, Go Crazy, was everywhere. That song hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went quadruple platinum, certified heat. But it wasn't just about the music. These two had loyalty. When Thug got caught up in that massive Ryko case in 2022 and spent over 2 years locked up, Chris was one of the few who really held him down. He wasn't just tweeting free YSL for attention. He spoke on Thug with real emotion and kept his name alive while everyone else went silent. That's rare loyalty in this game. So when Thug offered to help Kevin McCall, he wasn't throwing shade at Chris or switching sides. He was trying to bring peace, to show love to a brother clearly going through it, while still standing by his day one friend. That's solid. And when Thug said CB would give it to you too, bro, he a real one, it showed he wasn't trying to start drama. He was keeping it respectful on both sides. Kevin McCall responded quickly, saying, "What's up, bro? I'm just seeing this, about to DM you now. For a second, it looked like things might calm down. Maybe, just maybe, this mess could actually get resolved." Young Thug, newly home and focused on giving back, had been on a positive wave all year. He'd even hosted a charity event in Atlanta that summer for local kids, showing he was really walking the walk. His offer to Kevin looked like another example of him spreading love and positivity in a game that rarely gives it back. But if Thug's move was meant to bring peace, Chris Brown had other ideas. On October 22nd, 2025, Chris fired back in a way only he could. Straight pettiness turned up to the max. On his Instagram story, he posted, "Remember this, you can't walk across a burnt bridge. And you know what's funnier than a troll? A broke one cold-blooded." That was brutal and crystal clear. Chris wasn't forgiving, wasn't forgetting, and definitely wasn't sending any money. That post instantly split the internet again. Some fans said Chris had every right to defend himself, pointing out that Kevin had once threatened him and his daughter. They said, "You can't play victim after doing all that." Others felt Chris went too far, mocking a man who was clearly struggling mentally and emotionally. The situation hit a nerve. You could feel the tension in every comment section. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Before anyone says Chris Brown is being mean, context. Kevin McCall once threatened him and his daughter royalty. Still, a lot of people thought Chris's post was too harsh, like he was stomping on someone who was already broken. Either way, the damage was done. Chris made it clear, no reconciliation, no peace, no check. The bridge between them wasn't just burned, it was dust. And once again, the internet was split. Was Chris just protecting his peace, or was he showing no mercy to a man who helped him rise to the top? The drama wasn't dying down anytime soon. A lot of people online started pointing out that what Kevin McCall went through isn't anything new. The music industry has a long, ugly history of exploiting songwriters and producers, leaving the creators broke while the stars they helped blow up walk away rich. And no matter how wild McCall's past might be, folks agreed. If the man was genuinely owed money, he deserved to get paid. That's not emotional. That's just business. But to really understand how it got to this breaking point, Kevin crying on camera and Chris clapping back with no mercy, we gotta rewind the story to where it all started. Back when these two were more than collaborators, they were like brothers. March 9th, 2016, that's the day the whole thing exploded. Kevin McCall had been quiet for years, keeping his frustrations under wraps, trying to handle business the professional way. But that morning, he finally snapped. He hit Twitter and posted, "At Chris Brown, we need to sit down and handle this business. I tried the adult route. I feel my kindness is being taken for weakness." Boom. Just like that, the gloves were off. It wasn't just some attention grab post. This was a man demanding respect, demanding to be heard after years of what he saw as being underpaid and ignored. McCall wasn't talking behind closed doors anymore. He wanted the world to know he was done being quiet. But if Kevin thought Chris was going to respond calmly or try to make peace, he was about to be hit with a reality check. The next day, March 10th, 2016, Chris fired back on Instagram. And the post was cold, long, heated, and personal. The type of post that ends friendships for good. He called Kevin a bottom feeder and dropped a line that had everyone's jaw on the floor. Keep messing with me and you won't be able to walk, let alone sing again. Let that sink in. This wasn't just some petty social media clapback. That sounded like a straight up threat. The internet froze. Fans were shocked. And let's be real, when it comes from someone with Chris's history of violence and anger issues, that kind of statement hits different. Kevin tried to play it cool at first. On Snapchat, he posted, "I'm Chris Brown's #1 fan, actually." Nobody could tell if he was being sarcastic or serious, maybe both. It was like he was trying to keep his dignity, but the hurt was obvious. This was someone who had looked up to Chris, had built hits with him, had called him little bro, and now that same person was threatening him. It was heartbreaking and messy all at once. From there, things spiraled. Throughout 2016, McCall couldn't let it go. One day demanding Chris release him from his contract, the next day giving him props for his talent. It was this wild back and forth, anger mixed with nostalgia, brotherhood mixed with betrayal. Anyone who's seen two homies fall out over business could feel exactly what was happening here. By June 2016, Kevin took it up a notch. He dropped a diss track called Baruch, a play on the name of Chris's ex, Karuecha. That move got the streets talking heavy. Later, Kevin admitted he made the song specifically to get under Chris's skin. Straight pettiness. It wasn't about the music anymore. It was about pain and pride. Then came December 11th, 2017, and things got dark. McCall posted an Instagram video calling Chris out for a fight. He said Chris was soft for bringing guns to a fist fight, basically saying he wasn't about that real action. He was calling out Chris's whole tough image, daring him to throw hands man to man. It was wild, reckless, and dangerous. The beef had gone from words to potential violence. But the most shocking moment came next, the one that really marked the end of their friendship forever. Kevin took his platinum plaque for Deuces, the hit that started their come up together, the one that made them both household names, and smashed it on camera. Yeah, you heard that right. He literally destroyed the symbol of their biggest success. The caption read, "Deuces to my past." It was bitter, raw, and painful to watch, like watching a bond crumble right in front of your eyes. Chris Brown's response, 2 emojis, just 2, one with a straight face and one laughing through tears. No words, no emotion, just pure dismissal. That stung worse than anything else. In hip-hop culture, that's the ultimate disrespect, saying someone's not even worth your energy. And that's when Kevin crossed the point of no return. On January 6th, 2018, he unleashed a series of tweets that made everyone watching realize this wasn't just about business anymore. It was personal, emotional, and spiraling fast. Even fans who had followed the beef from the start were stunned at what came next. The brotherhood that started with studio sessions and mutual respect had officially turned into all-out war. And by this point, the culture knew there was no going back. Then came the moment that completely flipped the internet upside down. Kevin McCall wrote some wild stuff online, and it crossed a line no one ever should. He posted, "Chris Brown and his seed would be in a casket if he had anything to do with me being shot. Stop playing with rumors or I can't promise CB will make 29. I kept him alive for 7 years, now in LA. Let's be real, that was beyond shocking." McCall wasn't just threatening Chris Brown, he mentioned Chris's daughter, Royalty, who was just 3 years old at the time. An innocent child who had absolutely nothing to do with their beef. He called her his seed and implied that both father and daughter would end up in a casket. That's not just messy, that's unforgivable. The backlash was instant. Social media went off. Fans were disgusted, angry, and heartbroken that things had gone that far. Even people who had been sympathetic to McCall before, folks who said he was wronged by the industry, switched sides in seconds. One viral tweet summed up the whole vibe perfectly. "I don't care how much you hate Chris Brown. You don't threaten someone's child like that." In hip-hop, in the streets, in any culture, there are certain rules you don't break. And threatening a kid, that's one of them. That's off limits forever, no debate. McCall tried to backtrack fast. He claimed people were twisting his words, saying he was actually quoting scripture. Eye for an eye, and that he loved Chris and his child and would kill for them, not kill them. He said folks were just misunderstanding him, that he was giving a spiritual warning, but nobody was buying that. The damage was already done, and it was permanent. Whatever sympathy Kevin had earned for his struggles vanished overnight. Those tweets made him look unhinged, like he'd lost control completely. And at that point, Chris Brown suddenly looked like the bigger man, cool, composed, and totally justified in cutting him off forever. McCall had given Chris the moral high ground without Chris even having to say a word. By 2019, Kevin's behavior was spiraling even worse. He went on another rant, this time wishing that Chris Brown's fans would harm themselves. People couldn't believe what they were reading. Another bridge burned, another moment that showed how deep his pain and his self-destruction had gone. What started as anger about money and contracts had now turned into something darker, a public meltdown that made the industry keep its distance. Meanwhile, Chris Brown stayed silent for the most part, calm, unbothered, and moving smart. He didn't clap back every time McCall lashed out. He didn't need to. Kevin was doing more damage to his own reputation than Chris ever could. Then, in 2020, an old video resurfaced where Chris finally spoke on the situation indirectly. He said, "If he wrote all these songs he claiming he wrote, why he ain't writing no more?" Cold. That hit hard. It was slick but sharp, a reminder that while Chris kept dropping hits and touring the world, Kevin's career had completely flatlined. And that was the painful truth. While Chris Brown was still charting, still selling out arenas, still winning awards, Kevin McCall's career had crashed. His 2017 project Man of God barely made a ripple. The same guy who once helped create Grammy-winning records now had almost nothing to his name. But this story wasn't just about the downfall, it was about how it all began. Because to understand how things fell apart so badly, we gotta rewind to where it started. The rise and fall of what used to be a real brotherhood. Back to 2009, a hungry young Kevin McCall from Watts, Los Angeles, trying to find his lane in the game. Fresh out of college, where he'd been a football player with dreams of going pro, he realized music was his real shot. He hit up every event he could, chasing opportunities, networking nonstop. Then one day, fate lined him up with Chris Brown. At that time, Chris was just 20, still reeling from the 2009 scandal that nearly ended his career overnight. The industry had turned its back, and he was trying to rebuild from the ground up. And here comes Kevin McCall, hungry, confident, fearless. According to him, he literally cornered Chris at an industry event and wouldn't take no for an answer until Chris listened to his demos. That's straight hustle. Surprisingly, it worked. Chris saw something in Kevin, that same hunger, that same drive, and invited him to the studio. What happened next would change both their lives. They clicked instantly. Kevin wasn't just another writer or producer. He became part of Chris's inner circle. Chris signed him to CBE, Chris Brown Entertainment, under RCA Records, calling him his protege. It was during one of the most critical moments of Chris's career, his comeback era. The time he needed to prove he was more than his mistakes, that he could still make history. And together they did. Their chemistry was undeniable. Hit after hit, moment after moment. They created Deuces, the 2010 smash featuring Tyga that climbed to number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a global anthem. That song marked a new chapter for Chris and a breakthrough for Kevin. It was magic. Two artists rebuilding their futures together, feeding off each other's energy, unstoppable. But as the world would later see, the same passion that built that brotherhood would be the same fire that burned it all down. Here's where the story gets deep and shows just how complicated Kevin McCall and Chris Brown's relationship really was. See, Deuces, the hit that put them both back on top, was originally Kevin's song. It was his baby, his story, straight from the heart. He wrote it after a painful breakup, pouring all that raw emotion into the track. That's why it hit so hard. It was real. When Chris heard it, he loved it, but Kevin only agreed to let him have it under one condition. He had to stay on the song. No ghostwriting, no behind-the-scenes credit. His name had to be on it. Chris agreed, brought in Tyga for that extra sauce, and the rest is history. The track blew up overnight, earning a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Sung Collaboration and pulling in massive royalties. Kevin later said he made over 6 figures from Deuces alone. Crazy money for someone who had been working retail at Abercrombie and Fitch just months earlier, struggling to make rent. Imagine that. One song changes your life completely, from folding shirts to cashing royalty checks. But Deuces was just the start of a dream run. McCall co-wrote and featured on Strip in 2011, another hit that had every club lit and climbed to number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100. He also had his fingerprints on Look at Me Now, the monster collab with Busta Rhymes and Lil Wayne, Chris Brown's first #1, one rap record that took over radio. Everywhere you turned, you were hearing Kevin's pen, Kevin's melody, Kevin's sound. His work on Brown's FAME album was next level. That project would go on to win Chris his first Grammy and mark his full comeback as one of R&B's biggest stars. And Kevin? He was right there in the mix, the silent engine behind the hits. On top of that, he was writing for other major artists too, like Carrie Hilson's One Night Stand. The man was proving his range, making a name for himself as one of R&B's hottest young songwriters. For a short but golden moment, Kevin McCall was living every dream a kid from Watts could ever imagine. He was deep inside the industry, surrounded by success, money, and influence. The studios were buzzing, the charts were filled with his work, and Chris Brown was calling him Big Bro in interviews. Their sessions weren't just business, they were family vibes. Laughter, creativity, brotherhood. It felt like nothing could break that bond. But behind all the hits and love, cracks were forming, quiet at first, but growing fast. The kind that start as tension and end in destruction. By 2013, things were changing. McCall started to feel boxed in, controlled. He didn't like the direction Chris wanted him to go. He wanted to be himself, not just the guy behind Chris's sound. In a 2015 Vlad TV interview, Kevin opened up about what went wrong. He said Chris wanted him to have a grown, sexy thug appeal image. But that wasn't Kevin. He wanted to do his own thing, be more soulful, spiritual, real. He said, Chris had this idea of what I should be, but that's not who I am. And then came the moment that set everything off, the spark that would burn down their partnership. In 2014, actress and singer Keke Palmer, yes, that Keke Palmer, hit up Kevin wanting to collaborate. She was a fan of his music, and he saw it as a big chance to branch out on his own outside Chris's shadow. Together, they filmed the music video for Shorty Wanna Ride. Kevin was hyped. He thought this was his big solo breakthrough, the move that would show the world he was more than just Chris Brown's guy. But when Chris found out, he wasn't happy at all. According to Kevin, Chris called him up furious, saying the collaboration was a bad look. Chris thought Keke's wholesome, family-friendly image didn't fit the edgier street vibe he wanted his brand, and everyone signed under him to represent. But it wasn't just about image, it was about control, about power, about who called the shots. Kevin later claimed that during that heated call, Chris straight up threatened to ruin his career. He allegedly told him he'd make sure no label would ever mess with him again. Basically, if you move without my approval, you're done. For Kevin, who came from the streets of Watts, where respect is everything, that was a slap in the face. He wasn't just a sidekick, he was a man who'd earned his stripes. He'd stood by Chris during his lowest moments. Now he felt like he was being treated like an employee who stepped out of line instead of a brother who helped build the empire. That call changed everything. From that point on, things between them were never the same again. What used to be loyalty and love turned into ego and resentment. And when two proud men feel disrespected, there's no turning back. This was the real breaking point, the start of the downfall that would soon explode in public for the whole world to see. As things kept unraveling, Kevin McCall started to believe something even darker was going on behind the scenes. He suspected that Chris Brown's management, especially Brown's longtime manager, had been quietly moving pieces to block his solo career. McCall claimed he was told to shut down his own projects, that certain calls and connections he was promised suddenly stopped coming through, and that opportunities that should have been his were mysteriously slipping away. At the same time, the money, or rather the lack of it, was becoming a wound that wouldn't heal. Deuces had become a massive record, a timeless hit with over 500 million streams on Spotify and still getting spins to this day. But according to Kevin, the success didn't translate to his bank account. He said he never saw the back-end royalties, never got his fair share of the bag. He claimed his publishing deal through Chris Brown's company was unfair, that he was young, hungry, and didn't fully understand the paperwork he was signing. To him, it felt like one of those classic industry traps, the kind of deals that take advantage of raw talent before they even realize what's happening. The type of paperwork that looks like opportunity on day one, but turns into a cage once you read the fine print. Things got worse with his RCA deal, the one that had been set up through Brown's connections. Kevin said it all collapsed like a house of cards. He claimed he was never even officially listed as a signed artist on RCA's website. He said his budget, the money meant for his music, was mysteriously spent on random producers he didn't need, even though he was already producing his own beats. Broken promises piled up. Meetings led nowhere. It was the same story too many artists in the game have told. The moment the system stops working for you and starts working against you. But the part that hurt the most? Kevin said Chris Brown straight up removed his credits from songs like Look at Me Now. Imagine that. A record you helped create that changed both your lives, and now your name's not even there. Whether it was a business move, a misunderstanding, or something more intentional, it felt like betrayal. Kevin saw it as being erased, written out of history by the same person he once called his brother. To him, that was the final cut. Not just losing money, but losing his legacy. And that's where their story leaves us. Two artists who once made magic together, now divided by pain, pride, and business gone bad. A brotherhood turned into a rivalry the whole world watched unfold. What do you think? Was Kevin McCall really wronged by the industry, or did he let ego and anger destroy what could have been legendary? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one of them. If you found this breakdown deep, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe for more real stories straight from the culture. And I'll see you in the next one.